Mental Health Monday
on Radio City Talk
with Mick Coyle.
Tackling the stigma.
Radio City Talk.
Yeah, welcome to Mental Health Extra. My name's Mick Coyle. We've got Jake Mills in the studio from the Hub of Hope and Chasing the Stigma. Jake, great to see you.
Have we settled on Mental Health Extra? Have we? Is that what it is?
Hashtag Mental Health Extra.
Okay.
Now, who was it who tweeted me last week and went, yeah, the hashtag needs a little bit of work, Mick? And I said at the time, last week, that Mental Health Monday Extra was too long. So we're going with hashtag Mental Health Extra, which will be part of our Mental Health Monday coverage, but it's on a Tuesday. So thank you to everybody who's been getting involved on the show. And what a reaction we had to this week's Mental Health Monday, talking about postnatal depression, but from a dad's point of view. 1,001 people got in touch with us off the back of it in terms of thanking us really for sharing their story and the work that we're doing here at the station. And it's not necessarily, Jake, something which you would instantly associate as being a mental health issue. Postnatal depression, fine, but from the dad's point of view.
Yeah, one of the things I jotted down when I was listening to it was you used a figure yesterday about how 1 in 10 men can be affected by it, and I would argue that number probably is a lot higher than that, actually, or lower, whatever. More people than that, yeah. And I think it's just a case of, because it's not really discussed, because people don't actually know it's a thing, and I think that's kind of symbolised by the amount of people who've been in touch and said, actually, yeah, that's a real thing. I mean, I've had this conversation, and we've had this conversation before, and I'm quite passionate about pregnancy from a dad's point of view. I think it's such a strange time for the dad, pregnancy, because I think a mum, all the focus is on the mum, rightly so, because they're the ones who are growing the baby, but they, at the same time, they have that emotional, they have that physical connection to that baby. And I think as a dad, it's so difficult to have any emotional connection, especially if it's the first time with what is essentially an idea, and you don't get that until actually it's handed over to you.
I think, but you just said that, didn't you? All the focus is on the mum, and rightly so, as if we're somehow making a choice that either you focus on the mum or you focus on the dad.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things which actually is, I think, kind of emerged from yesterday. This idea that those things where if you flag it up as a postnatal depression with a worker, they're ready to act on that straight away. They'll have those conversations, but quite clearly those conversations are exclusive of dad almost being in the room. Or is actually, you think, if you're asking the mum postnatally whether or not she's feeling depressed, you could actually ask at that point the dad the same question. So it's not about choosing mum or dad, or that one's more important, or that dad's, just moaning about everything. It's about just having an inclusive parental oversight.
Absolutely, and that should be as standard, that the question is to the mum and is to the dad. And again, I've discussed this quite openly before. But, I think there's so much expectation and there's so much pressure on that moment when you are handed over your baby. And I think it's always, kind of built up as when your baby's handed over to you, that's the most amazing moment in your life. You will feel a love like you've never felt before. It's the most overwhelming, beautiful feeling. I didn't get that. I did not get that feeling. When my son was handed over to me that first time, that feeling was not of, oh my God, I'm so in love. That feeling was, what happens now? That feeling was anxiety. That feeling was panic. That feeling was worry. I didn't actually get that lovely feeling until, I think you mentioned yesterday, the 10 days, weeks. There's no rule. There's no kind of a standard feeling that you're meant to feel. It's frightening, it's scary, it's overwhelming.
You know what, though? I think everybody is guilty of trying to tell everybody else how you will feel about having a child.
Yeah.
I think we all do it. Before my first was born, people would say, it's actually, you don't get time for yourself anymore. Your life will change forever. And I was a little bit like, yeah, hang on a minute. Well, 6 months ago, before any of this was going on and you knew about it, you were saying, parenthood is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're now telling me about all the negative sides of it when I'm like a week and a half out from actually becoming a dad for the first time. And at the same time, people go, you're having one. When's the next one on the way? Like, as if you enjoy being a parent and you love it, they think, oh, this guy must be doing something wrong. Wait until he has to, and then people encourage you to have a second because they want to see the smile light off your face.
No, like when I told people that we were expecting, or the response was overwhelmingly best thing that's ever going to happen to you. It's amazing.
That's
blah,
Jake
blah.
and his partner, not me and Jake.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Not yet.
But then as soon as my son was born, and I text people saying, "Oh, it's hard," and everyone who said it's the best thing that ever happened to you, every single one of them to a person said, "Yeah, it only gets worse now, mate." Every single one of them. I was like, "Thanks for that."
But I think it's an appalling attitude to have, because actually when people say to me like, oh, the day your child was born is the happiest day of your life, it wasn't. I've had much more happy days since then because I wasn't shattered.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, panicking, and I wasn't flapping about left, right, and centre. A year in, 2 years in, 3 years in, you get a lot more chilled out about it. You get the enjoyment, you get the interaction as well. So I think that should almost be the start of good things to come. But I think one of the things that emerged from yesterday, it's about allowing those connections, that bond to be created. And if it's not something which happens straight away, to maybe have ideas about how those bonds could be created. Because that was one of the things that was set out, some of the issues in regard to not feeling those feelings or not understanding the reality of what parental life was going to be like.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's that expectation that if everybody's saying to you it's going to be the best feeling, then when it's not the best feeling, which it wasn't for me, as you've just said, it wasn't for you as well, because it's so overwhelming. That can lead to so much. That can lead to guilt. That can lead to why is this not the best feeling? I'm meant to feel this way, and I don't. That's such a dangerous attitude to have. Even when we went to the kind of the classes before the baby was born, it was barely touched on from a mum's point of view about the postnatal depression. Never mind from a dad's point of view. I don't think it ever would have been picked up at all. I had to kind of make a point kind of about postnatal depression in the class.
But I think there's a danger with that, isn't there? The other danger is that people go, oh, it's the baby blues.
Yeah.
Stick your chin up, crack on, everything will be fine. It's just the baby blues that you're dealing with. Actually, no, this is a diagnosable thing now, which actually there's help out that for. If it's medicated, fine. If it's not medicated, but it's about support, if it's about other things, those sort of networks are out there.
Yeah, and again, it's about this idea of you're responsible for something so precious, so important to you. That anxiety level goes out of the window, and I think, especially if it's the first that you're having, everything is brand new to you, and to have this idea of everyone goes through this. It's the same way of saying get over it, basically, by saying, oh, it's the baby blues, so you're going to feel like that. Because how long does that last for? How long do you say, well, it's baby blues, so I'll put up with it for a little bit longer? What's the cutoff? It's just ridiculous.
Well, I think that was the thing that was set out yesterday at the PND Daddy. If you want to follow our guest from yesterday's programme, actually one of the things he talked about was that the moment where he realised that he had an issue was the moment he walked out of his house and went to find a spot where he could contemplate suicide. And you think, well, at that point, that's the moment where it clearly has gone on too long, that whatever messages, whatever interventions that would naturally kick in haven't kicked in, to the point where somebody is then at that vulnerable state that they're considering suicide as a result of it. And it could have been flagged up, whoever by, at some point. Or if there'd been awareness before, that you go, well, actually, I shouldn't be feeling like this at this stage. Therefore, I can take the steps which have been signposted to me.
And again, it's all about preparing people. It's all about having just that conversation as early on as it might be to both the parents to say, by the way, these are common things, these are common problems. 1 in 10 is quite common. And again, I'm saying it's probably more common than that anyway, but to say mums and dads both can suffer from this, and here are the ways that you can identify it, and here's the ways you can get help for it, here's the things you can do. It's a simple, really simple way of just preparing people for something that might happen, but it's really, really important. And that's why I think yesterday's show was so good and really, really important, because as you've already said, so many people are getting in touch. I think loads of people are going to identify with that, and it's the first time they've ever thought of actually PND from a dad's point of view.
It was interesting, actually. I got a WhatsApp message from somebody that I know very, very well. He just said, well done for highlighting the issue. it was something which I suffered as a result of. And straight away it was like, well, I didn't know that. And this is something that happened relatively recently. But that idea that actually you suffer it and you don't know whether or not you're supposed to. In fact, you don't know if you're suffering or whether or not that actually is just what parenthood actually feels like. But then flagging it up, having those conversations, allowed that particular individual who contacted me to sort of do things a little bit differently. But in the end, through a mum's organisation rather than for anything that was set out for dads. One thing that struck me when I first held my daughter, when I was kind of handed her once whilst they were sort of helping mum out, should we say, was like, it was like, oh right, now I'm holding a baby.
Yeah.
And so we did a lot of stuff before birth, which was like, talking to the bump, trying to do that. It's your daddy.
Did you do it though?
Yeah, I did all that. Yes.
Did you?
Yeah, because that was about me trying to create a bond so that when I go, it's your daddy, the baby hears that voice and then goes, oh, I know this voice, therefore.
Yeah.
So you'd go, so I'd always go, hello, little baby, it's your daddy. And then when I'd say that in real life, when the baby was actually there, the baby would stop crying because she would recognise that as a sound that she was used to hearing, my voice.
Yeah.
But the weird thing was that although it was my baby, our baby, again, not mine and yours, but mine and my wife's, I didn't recognise her. No, I didn't recognise her face. I didn't know her face. So the strange thing that you feel a sense of love for, absolutely I did, but not recognising them was quite a strange and confusing thing. I remember because I went home for the night, best night's sleep I ever had, by the way, and last good night's sleep. I went home, and then when I was driving into the hospital the next day, and I had the car seat in the car, not sure how to really fit it properly. You did all that, and you had the bag, and you had to change your clothes, and you had like 800 nappies, because how many nappies does a baby need? I don't know. Those are the sort of things you go, man. And I was thinking, oh, I'm a terrible dad. I can't picture what her face looked like. And I was going in there thinking, if she's just there in a little, like, the little, not incubator, the little plastic tray thing that they put them in.
Yeah. You have to pick it out.
Yeah, if I had to pick it, would I be able to do it? And I was thinking, no, I couldn't. Oh, no, this is terrible. I'm not suited to this at all.
Yeah.
And that was like an existential crisis I had about my suitability as a human being to bring in another human being into the country.
But again, you touched on it, and Tony did yesterday as well, though. It's, my son was, I think, an hour old before I had to go home. And it was like, okay, well, sorry, we can't have any visitors on this ward. And, she's just had surgery and hasn't got a clue what's going on. And then I'm being sent home. And that was really tough for both of us. And, as you know, you're not allowed to stay there overnight. And it's just, it's immediately that separation from a dad's point of view. It's like, it's basically saying you're not actually needed. It's basically saying you're not that important at the moment because it's just mum and we'll look after her. We'll help her with the feed and everything, and straight away it's that feeling of having you kind of yourself pushed out a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that, because I think from their point of view they'd be saying, well, it's an extra body, it's somebody else who needs feeding, and it's somebody who maybe doesn't necessarily, or might just get in the way a little bit. But at the same time, I think when the sort of newer hospitals are coming on board, a lot of them have the suites where there is either a double bed or they've got one of those chairs that sort of kicks right back so dad can stick around as well, because there is value in it, isn't
Absolutely.
there? In the same way that if dad's not around, to have your mum, for the new mum to have her mum, or to have, you'd want somebody there, because actually, I guess from the mum's point of view, this idea of you've had a baby now, here's your baby, lie in this bed and try and work out for yourself what's going on.
Exactly, and kind of that comfort that mum is then lacking because you're not there to help her. It's a difficult time. It's really, really difficult, and sometimes it can take a long time for you to feel comfortable. But again, that's why yesterday's show was so important, and that conversation is so important, and the work that Tony's doing, the work that Mark Williams is doing, people who are talking about postnatal depression from a father's point of view, from a father's mental health, is going to help so many people, because it's saying, actually, do you know what? This is normal and this is okay. And that's really such an important message to get out there.
I think there's a body shock that takes place when you become a parent as well. I think a lot of it, sleep deprivation, and people go, oh, you've just not had a good night's sleep. And we had this rule in our house, I mentioned it on the podcast, which was basically, look, we're just tired. But you can be just tired for a couple of days. We did the marathon and the mental health marathon, and we were tired for a couple of days after that one, and you felt, oh, well, I'm just tired. But actually, if you feel like that for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, that physical element of tiredness starts to exacerbate your sort of your mental outlook on life as well. And I think that's one of the things which you've got to bear in mind, because it's not necessarily outside of, going to a stag do every other day for a month. There's no other experience like it.
Yeah, and from a personal point of view, sleep deprivation from my own mental health point of view is a big trigger for me. I know if I'm not getting the sleep, that my mental health will suffer. I'll be more anxious than normal. So to kind of go through that huge culture shock, to have everything, all your other worries, all your other anxieties, as well as the sleep deprivation, it does have a huge effect on your mental health.
The PND Daddy on social media, at the PND Daddy. He's just put a link up to the blog that he's written as a result of coming on the programme yesterday, the PND Daddy blog. You can get a link via his social media, which you can get via our social media, at Radio City Talk. Breaking the Stigma, Why I Refuse to Suffer in Silence, setting out all the information there. thisdadcan.co.uk was the organisation that John was from. He was in the studio yesterday. And Jake, you mentioned Mark Williams. He's a prominent campaigner in regard to screening for dads, to check those who might be predisposed to maybe bouts of depression after mum's given birth as well, and to make sure that knowledge and that information is out there. There is loads of information. Loads of different people contacted us on the show afterwards as well in regard to different types of organisations that are out there. Thank you to everybody who did that. I'll do my best to get through as many of them as I can and flag up a few of them if there's help or different sites which people can check out. Andy Myers, thank you for your link that you'd sent about research that you were doing into it, flagging up Bluebell, that's Dads in Mind, the PND Daddy, the Smile Group, Ashley Curry, who is based around the issue of paternal OCD, From Dads to Dads, the Dad Network, Action on Postpartum Psychosis, and the work done around International Father's Mental Health Day as well. Dr. Andrew Myers from Bournemouth University set out those via social media as well. Jake, if people want to find out more information about your work through the Hub of Hope, where can they find out that information?
You can go on hubofhope.co.uk. We also launched it as a free downloadable app, which is available on iOS. We launched that on Monday, so you can download that from the App Store. Coming soon to Android as well. And you can go on chasingthestigma.co.uk and all our information's there.
Jake, thank you for your time. Appreciate you joining us once again. Mental Health Extra on a Tuesday from Radio City Talk. If you subscribe to the Mental Health Monday podcast, this will automatically appear in your playlist.
Mental Health Monday with Mick Coyle.
Radio City Talk.